Hey, and welcome to this short tutorial on, I'm sorry for the laughter, on elements of your research paper and just how you can actually make sure that you're going to earn the highest grade possible. Here we have an example from one of your classmates dealing with opioid addiction or opioid awareness, depending on how you put it. I just want to point out a couple of elements in the paper. Right away, from the first 3 or 4 sentences of the paper, she addresses her research question. How has the prevalence of opioid or opiate abuse changed the stigma and treatment of addiction over the years? Now, right away, that's an answerable question. There are ways in which abuse has changed the stigma surrounding patients in that field. You may not be dealing with anything in the medical field, but if there's an answer, a specific answer to your question, then it's probably not the best research question. Something that's a little bit nuanced and difficult about research is that you really shouldn't have a question that is directly answerable. Now that sounds kind of counterintuitive, especially for people who are more used to the sciences. But one of the ideas about even in science is that you're trying to actually determine what the issues surrounding a certain idea may be, but also the different answers that one could offer. So in order to change your research question, you're going to have to constantly do more and more reading. Your research question is not going to be static. You're probably going to work with it and revise it as you go. Fine, that's fine with me. One suggestion that I'm making for all of you guys is not to preface your question, i.e., an interesting question arises. That seems kind of boring. So one thing I'm going to ask you guys to do is go ahead and just select your research question, and we're going to actually manipulate your classmates' work here. And I want you to create a separate line for that research question. Now that seems very different from other papers and formatting that you've probably dealt with in the past. But the reason why I want you to do that is I'm going to try to get you guys to begin creating these little subheaders. So the first one may be background. It could also be introduction. It could also be some sort of context, or you could say history, whatever that may be. The person writing this paper can choose how she wants to rephrase that. Immediately following that, and again, counterintuitive to what you may have done in the past, I want you to go ahead and I want you to just write in your thesis. Now the reason why I'm having you do this is because this research paper is a hybrid of certain areas. For instance, this young lady is working with the medical sciences. Some people would say that's a natural science. Other people would call it a human science. But the idea is that the paper may actually have subheadings. And so each of your subsequent sections is something that I want you to try to address. And I want you to try to offer some sort of title for. That being said, let's go into this second paragraph. A little short overall, but that's fine. What I want you guys to take a look at, though, is her use of integrated quotations. And so one thing I'm going to have you guys begin doing is highlighting all of your integrated quotations, or just quotations in general, and your parenthetical references. And so if you take a look right here, we have a reference to Holland. Now, one thing that a lot of people have difficulty with is the idea that not only are you supposed to integrate, but you're also supposed to use these parenthetical references. Your parenthetical references must directly match the listing in your works cited. So if I see Holland right here, or for instance, I see opiates right here, I should be able to go immediately to her works cited, and I'm going to do that now. Addiction, Holland. Boom. I know that that's the article that she's accessed. Opiates. Boom. Done. Again, the listing here must be the direct listing for what she is referencing or integrating in her paper. And so if she references this first article, I'm going to see in parentheses, quote, addiction as a disease, end quote, end parentheses, and then period. And again, they come at the very end. These parenthetical references come at the very end of your sentences, not in the middle. That's something we've been working on in our discussion board posts. Furthermore, I just want to make sure that you understand, technically, there are multiple works here. Some people would call this a works cited. Work in general is also a plural noun, so just call it a works or work cited, but I want to make sure that everything is the same font size and everything is standardized without these artificial spaces. So I'm going to take out the artificial spaces between her work cited entries, and then because she used size 10 here, we want to actually make it size 12 throughout the paper. So I'm just going to select the whole paper so we can be done with that. Boom, done, and we have automatically corrected her work cited. You can see that for the bulk of these entries, there are no authors. There are only authors for the Holland and the Reed article. But typically, you're going to start with the author. Then in quotation marks, you're going to put the title of the article, and then either the journal, or and that's for ABC Clio, which is a database, or you're going to put the in italics the actual website title. So the Center on Addiction is not necessarily the name of the actual website. It's for the National Center on Addiction and Substance Abuse. And again, you guys can see here that this classmate has used 3 databases, ABC Clio for all 3 of those. I would advocate that you guys look into GaleNet at your base schools, or in addition to that, JSTOR, which is going to be a little bit more humanities-based, but there's still going to be some medical journals available. Furthermore, you guys can see that she has alphabetized her works cited, A, B, C, D, H, well, that's not how the ABC goes, but she's alphabetized these, and that's something I want to make sure that you're doing as well. Going back to her paper, I would just suggest that you guys don't use quotations back to back. Try to stay away from that. And the reason why is that you want to offer some of your own commentary every time you cite some sort of expert or cite somebody in the field. So with these ideas, I hope you're able to improve your own work, but I'd also like you guys to begin thinking about how you're going to revise with each subsequent draft of your research paper. Thanks a lot, and have a wonderful day.